Ladies and gentlemen, I have a statement. On August 28, 2013, people from around the world will once again march on the United States of American capital city of Washington, D.C. to forever honor the late Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. And I have a dream address given on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in 1963. During America's greatest challenges of making freedom available to all people living within its borders, regardless of race or creed, but on the promise that everyone should be considered equal before and after the law. The largest march in U.S. history took place in a defiant search of freedom from racism, bigotry, and other forms of oppression by the other side. Having been born during the 1980s, I come to fulfill this everlasting role by living in the hopes of freedom and not allowing myself to be oppressed because of one's inability to get along with other cultures. The United States of America was built on the promise that everyone is created equal before and after the law. No person shall ever be considered a lesser value than the other. However, in the 21st century, we still have issues of racism within our communities, institutions, schools, labor markets, and yes, our police and fire departments. Again, I've learned through an awful process within the city of Chester, Pennsylvania, within the borders of the United States of America, who in their right mind would think a city police department will harass and falsely arrest someone out of hate, bigotry, and total disregard for humanity. In general, the question I always ask is why, as a free society, we allow this type of inhumanity towards one another to continue within the borders of the United States. A country built on the promise of freedom, hope, and the rule of law for what is right and correct. We must remember those awful days of the 1960s, so we as a society in general can prevent another injustice from taking place in the 21st century, therefore preventing our future generations from experiencing inhumanity and injustice for one another, as it was clearly displayed during the 1960s era, and of which continues within the shadow waters of today's society. A great man once stated, "Let freedom ring, thank God Almighty, let freedom ring." And in closing, in my heart of hearts, our society must be fair and equal to every person regardless of race, sex, national origin, or even disability. The world must finally recognize that our people are created equal, and it's only society itself which places the undoable burdens upon humanity. We must love one another in the hopes of starving out the ugliness of hate, bigotry, and injustice. Let us go forth remembering a great man in the saddest era in America's history, therefore honoring what is great about our society as a whole, and finally showing the people of the world Americans' ability to change for what is best, what is for the best, and therefore leading by an example and forever securing freedom for all humanity. I thank you dearly.